For the reading this morning, I've chosen to read a blog I wrote 3 weeks ago. It's called How Long Before Heaven Gets Boring? Because it'll lead into the subject matter of the homily this morning. All mammals habituate to pleasure. No matter how much I love rum raisin ice cream, after 2 tubs, the thought of it makes me want to throw up. In subsequent time-spaced binges, addicts need more and more of their drug of choice to reach the same level of a high. It's literally wired into our neurotransmitters. The only 2 counterexamples I can think of are dogs who want to play throw and fetch, and 2-year-old humans who cry out, "Do it again, do it again, do it again." Even the dictator, basking in the adulation of the sycophants, needs to raise the accolade bar higher and higher. There's a story told about Stalin, that after he'd finished speeches to the Politburo, the inner circle, he expected longer and longer standing ovations. And finally, each of the clappers were afraid to sit down, to be the first person to sit down in case they'd be executed for showing disrespect. Closely related to the pleasure principle is the almost ecstatic relief we feel when a painful situation has finally ended. The toothache that had almost driven me crazy is fixed, or the war that ravaged nations and led to horrific loss of life finally culminates in V-Day celebrations. And yet, on the other side of the coin, we have very short memories when it comes to personal or societal pain. Otherwise, how could a mother look forward eagerly to getting pregnant again? Or how could we vote for a party that we had dumped for corruption and ineptitude several elections ago? Or how can we be persuaded to enthusiastically embrace the next war to end all wars? Which brings me to heaven. The idea, I mean, not the place. After some 1,000 years of waking up daily to blue skies, a warm shower, Rice Krispies and half, how does it feel to have to once again grab your harp or harmonica or banjo and music sheets and rush off to the Aula Maxima? Find your assigned spot among the infinite number of concentric circles of plush seats ringed around the long-bearded old man in the center, seated between a good-looking 33-year-old with holes in his wrists and feet on the one side, and on the other side, a large white dove. Isn't it beginning to get a little bit boring? Just a tad? But you can't mention it to anybody because that would seem sinful. So, boring and all as it may be, you try desperately not to think about the long, interminably eternal future that stretches out ahead. Because the alternative is worse. Getting kicked out for ingratitude. And being sent down below where the sun don't never shine. You get blistering hot showers. You feed on lumpy porridge and sour milk. The musical instruments are all out of tune. And in place of the conductor and his baton are ushers with pitchforks. So you grin and bear it. If heaven, however, is about love, then it can't be about routine. Perhaps the subtlest form of love is creativity, the ability to bring into being that which is not yet. The talent to imagine with such focus that your dreams and your words become flesh. Maybe we get better and better at this over lifetimes. So good, in fact, that advanced souls create entire new universes, peopled with heretofore non-existent life forms and events. Was St. Paul onto this when he said, "Eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor has it entered into the human heart what things God has prepared for those who love him"? What if this doesn't just mean that God is saying to each and every soul upon death, "Come on up here, look what I've created for you," and then gives you a grand tour of all his pre-existing wonders for you to play with? What if the greatest gift of God is to bestow on us the very ability to create? So now, newly arrived soul, what are you going to create? What will your world look like? Will it be like planet Earth? or your cosmos be similar to this universe? Will you be content with simply recreating what you remember from here? Or will you break out and birth that which never before has been imagined? Will there be creatures in your dream? And how will they resemble or differ from Gaia's children? Will they be automatons, pre-programmed to act as the code dictates? Or will you risk giving them free will? Horrible aviso, would you allow them to disobey you? What if disobedience and evil were part of the training wheels needed in order for these children of yours to finally become like you, an unconditionally loving creator? Would you have the patience or the perspicacity to allow for that? Would you allow them to claim that you don't even exist? One final question. Is it possible that this here cosmos of ours is the project of such a student soul lovingly working elsewhere under God's serene gaze? Words inspired by? No idea. God? I am loath to mention the word hurling in front of an American audience, because in Ireland, hurling means something totally different from what you guys mean by it. Hurling in Irish is a very, very ancient Irish game. This is what it looks like. It goes back to 1287. So the Irish were playing hurling literally 30 years before Moses led the Israelites out of exile in Egypt. And it's the fastest ball game in the world. The ball looks like this. In Gaelic we call it a slither. And this is called a hurley, or in Gaelic it's called a cumann. And it's played by two teams of guys who are absolutely fearless, 15 aside. A goalkeeper, 6 backs, 2 centre field, and 6 forwards. And this ball, if you hit it properly, is going to travel about 95 miles an hour. And if you're good at it, you can hit it 110, 120 yards down the field. And it's played on a very, very big field, typically about 160 yards long by about 100 yards wide. And it's really man-to-man tough stuff. It makes American football look like a group of old ladies at crochet competition. Really, really tough stuff. Sexist. Try it sometime. Yeah? Don't tell me anything. So we have a phrase attached to it, and it's called the hurler on the ditch. Do you guys ever hear that phrase? The hurler on the ditch. Here's what it means. So it's a Sunday afternoon, and the hurling match has just finished, and there's a whole bunch of guys inside in the pub dissecting the game. And there's some guy holding forth. Normally he's inebriated at this stage. And he's laying down the law saying, what should have been done, what mistakes were made, and if only he'd been out in the field, the result would have been different. Or if somebody had consulted him about coaching, they'd have won the match. And of course, nobody is listening to him, because they all have their own opinions. It's the equivalent of maybe what you guys here might call the armchair theologian. You know that phrase? Okay. So the thing I want to talk about this morning is a good combination of these two, the homily. Because in some senses, if you look at over the years, the millions and millions of people who've criticized God for the world or the cosmos God has created, particularly notions of heaven and hell and suffering and pain, all these things, I think, couldn't God have done a better job in it? So it's like millions and millions of hurlers on the ditch spilling their Guinness into the laps of the armchair theologians. So that's what I want to address this morning. And I'm going to make 3 kind of sections to my presentation. I'm going to give a shorter than normal homily, and then I'm going to lead into a guided visualization, and then thirdly, I want us to unpack what your experience was in the guided visualization. So in the homily, I'll just make 3 quick points. And the first one I want to talk about, I'm going to just exegete this piece that I wrote, a few weeks ago. I'm going to look at mammalian memory, point number 1. And then I'm going to look at what I call harping at God. And then thirdly, creating your own cosmos. So the first one. Think about the whole of theology in most religions are based on some kind of a concept of justice, whereby at the end of a lifetime, you get the thumbs up or you get the thumbs down. You go to heaven or you go to hell. So in order to understand that concept, we have to look at the dialectic between pleasure and pain. And so in some senses, being very simplistic about it, heaven is that place where we have eternal pleasure and a total absence of pain, whereas hell is a place where we have, eternal pain and a total absence of pleasure. But it's a very simplistic model, and it really doesn't hold up. Because, as I said, all mammals are habituate to pleasure. It's built into our neurotransmitters. No matter how much rum raisin, I love rum raisin ice cream, no matter how much I eat, at some stage, I'm going to get sick of it, and then I'm going to really hurl in the sense in which Americans mean that phrase. So everything we habituate to pleasure as mammals, all the time. So the dictator who wants more and more accolades habituates until finally, even a 15-minute standing ovation isn't enough, and he's going to execute the first guy who sits down. We have, whatever we do, no matter how pleasurable it is, at some stage we get fed up with it, it's not going to work anymore. So what happens if that occurs in heaven? Now, the opposite is, part of the joy of heaven is that at least we avoided hell. And we're off the karmic wheel. We're not on earth anymore with the vicissitudes of living on earth. So we've escaped the vicissitude of earth. We've avoided eternal torment. We're in heaven. But now you're 1,000 years into your journey there in heaven. And at the beginning, it feels really, really great. There's blue skies every morning. And the breakfast is great. Rice Krispies and half and half. You get a warm shower when you want. And then you have to grab your banjo or your harmonica or your harp or whatever, and then schlep off to the huge big aula maxima. And there's thousands and thousands of rows of seats in concentric circles. And you find your assigned spot. And in the middle is this old man with a long grey beard. And on his right is a young 33-year-old with holes in his wrists. And then there's a big dove, the Holy Spirit, sitting at the other side. And you're strumming your banjo or doing whatever. After 1,000 years, you've done this now 365,000 times. Isn't it going to get a little bit boring? And you're looking at the guys around you wondering, are they thinking the same thing that I'm thinking? Should I say something? But what happens if I get kicked out? I go down below, where there are blazing hot showers and the sun don't never shine down there. You get lumpy porridge and sour milk for breakfast, and all the musical instruments are out of tune. And instead of, an orchestra leader with a baton, there's ushers with pitchforks. You think, gee, I think I'll keep my mouth shut. Or maybe, I wonder, could I apply for a work visa to go back down to planet Earth and reincarnate? Because I know it was tough, but you know what? At least it wasn't boring. Maybe I should try it again. But hold on a minute. What if I screw up the next time down, and then I get sent down below, and you can't get a work visa out of there? You're stuck. So I guess I'm just going to have to, grab my sheets and play the music again. So is that what it's really about? Which brings me to my second point. Harping at God, then. We're constantly convinced that God screwed it up. If only God could have listened to us, we would have done it a lot better. Surely he must have been able to create a different kind of model that would have worked better for people. So what kind of a model would you create? We think that, that it will get boring and boring and boring and boring, but if it's based on love, it can't be about routine. Love is not about routine. And I think that perhaps the subtlest manifestation of love is creativity, the ability to call into being that which does not yet exist, the ability to imagine or to think or to speak with such focused intensity that you literally make the word made flesh, that you're like the prologue to John's Gospel, that your very word gets enfleshed, that you have that creative ability. And that somehow, as we work our way through the heavens, so initially we get to heaven and we want to meet the family, granddad and grandma and whatever, and we talk about that, we have great times, but that gets boring as well. And so you ask them, what do you guys do up here? And they say, well, there's hurling matches every Sunday, and then on Tuesday nights, people want it, there's bingo. You're going to settle for that? So what would you need in order to make heaven really heaven? What if God's greatest gift to a soul is to endow it with the ability to create ex nihilo from scratch? And then the question becomes, what would you do? What would you do if you had the ability to create a whole new world or even an entire new cosmos? What would be the rules of engagement? What would be the program that would you use to do that? Would you just recreate what you can remember here on planet Earth? Maybe leave out mosquitoes and poison oak, but include everything else? Or would you be totally different? And when you created creatures, Would they resemble earthlings, or your pet dog, or a kitty cat, or whatever? What kinds of creatures would you people it with? And would you opt for finished products, so you create everything in its final form? Or would you allow for some kind of evolution or development? And if you thought about what would be the highest life form you would create, what would it look like? Would we just human beings in some fashion? Would you risk giving them free will, or would you just want automatons, delivering according to a code, which always meant they always did the good thing, that there was no evil or no pain in the world? Would you give them free will, the ability to screw up? Would you allow them the ability even to disobey you? If you gave them a code and said, guys, I found from my experience, this is what works. When you do this, peace happens, people are happy. You do that, there's war and greed and violence and whatever. But they disobey it anyway. Would you allow them to go so far as at some stage that some of them come to the conclusion that you don't even exist, that somehow they created themselves? Would you risk that? And what if evil, or free will or violence, in fact, are necessary stages in the process of them becoming like you, that they would grow until finally, through trial and error, they would learn to be unconditionally loving? What if that were the case? What if, in fact, that's necessary in order to bring about beings who really understand love from the inside out? Would you take that risk? So I'm going to lead us now in an exercise. You get a chance to do that. I'm going to do a guided visualization, and I'm going to bring you into a place where there will be two doors presented to you. One door will go into God's workshop. And God is looking for ideas to tweak the design, because he's got such complaints about what's not working. He wants you to help him tweak the design of the existing system. The other door on the other side is God has made you your own laboratory. And you can go in there and create anything you want. You don't have to consult anybody. So that's where we'll lead us. So I want you for a few moments just to close your eyes. And I want you to breathe in as deeply as feels comfortable to you, into your belly, at your own pace. And I want you to realize that breath is the interface between spirit and matter. In many, many languages, a single word means breath, life, and spirit. In Hebrew, the word is ruach. In Swahili, we use the word pepo. In Hinduism, they use the word prana. In Greek, the word is pneuma. It even sneaks into English as inspiration and expiration. To inspire literally means to take spirit in, or to be creative, or to be alive. And to expire means to let go of spirit, to breathe out, or to die. And so every breath cycle is a birth, death, and rebirth. So as you breathe in, not only are you replacing the molecules of your physical being, you're recreating yourself emotionally and intellectually and spiritually. So as you breathe in now, I want you to tie that process of recreation and regeneration to the breath cycle. And imagine as you breathe in, you take the oxygen into your lungs, and it goes across the lung walls into the bloodstream, and then is pumped all over your body. This oxygenated blood is pumped all over your body. So with your next breath, I want you to visualize this oxygenated healing breath moving right down to the soles of your feet and your ankles and insteps. And every place it touches, it brings healing and it brings peace. And every time you breathe out now, you let go of any discomfort or pain in that part of your body and relax. And with your next in-breath, you feel this healing energy coursing through your calves and shins right up to your knees. And every place it touches, it brings healing and it brings peace. And every time you breathe out now, you can let go of any discomfort or pain or tension in that part of your body and relax a little more deeply. And with your next breath, you feel this healing energy move into your thighs and quadriceps, into your buttocks and pelvic area. And every place it touches, it brings healing and it brings peace. And every time you breathe out now, you can let go of any discomfort or pain or tension in that part of your body and relax even more deeply. And with your next breath, you feel this healing energy moving into your torso, into your stomach and chest, up along your rib cage, touching all of the internal organs, your heart and lungs and liver and kidneys. And every place it touches, it brings healing and it brings peace. And every time you breathe out now, you can let go of any discomfort or tension or anxiety in that part of your body and relax even more deeply. And with your next breath, you feel this healing energy coursing down from your shoulders right down into your fingertips and palms and wrists, into your forearms and elbows, into your biceps and triceps. And every place it touches, it brings healing and it brings peace. And every time you breathe out now, you can let go of any discomfort or pain or tension in that part of your body and relax a little more deeply. And finally, as you breathe in, you feel this healing energy moving up into your neck and throat, into your chin and jaw, into your mouth and nostrils, into your eyes and ears, up along the temples and the back of your head and your forehead, right up to the crown of your head. And it touches all of the internal parts, your intellect, your imagination, creativity, your willpower, your memory. And every place it touches, it brings healing and it brings peace. And every time you breathe out now, you can let go of any anxiety or fear or worry and allow yourself to relax completely. And in that relaxed space, I want to take you on a little journey. I want you to imagine that you're in a meadow on a beautiful sunny day, just the right temperature, and you're barefoot, and you feel the soft turf underfoot, and you smell the fragrance of the flowers, and you hear the song of the birds, and you feel a cool breeze moving across your face. And at the end of the meadow, you see this ancient oak tree. And you walk across towards it, and you reach out your hand and you touch this gnarled bark, ancient bark. And suddenly a secret doorway swings outwards, and you realize that you can gain access to the interior of this ancient oak tree, filled with wisdom. You step inside, and you find that the interior is bathed in the most extraordinary golden light. Feels like it's embracing you. And you close the door behind you, and you find yourself at the top of a stairway, a spiral staircase, oaken staircase, that winds its way down deeper and deeper and deeper into Pachamama, Mother Earth, Gaia. And you put your hand on the rail and you walk your way down, step by step by step, feeling more and more connected with Source and with Spirit, until you find yourself in this long, wide, elegant corridor with just two doors, a door to your right and a door to your left. And you know that if you step through the door on the right, you're in God's workshop, and God has been waiting for you and says, come in. I've had some complaints about my design. I'm wondering if together we can tweak it together. If you choose to go to the left, God has built a brand new workshop just for you and said, go for it. Create whatever you would like. So for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to remain completely silent, and I want you to choose the door, move inside, and then experience what you experience. And whichever room you've been working in, I want you to begin winding up your project and give God a hug. Come back out into the corridor. Walk back towards the stairs. Put your hand on the rail and walk slowly back up the stairs, thinking deeply about what you've accomplished. Push open the door in the trunk of the great oak tree and step out into the sunlight. And close the door gently behind you. This is a place that you can revisit anytime you wish. Hear again the bird's song. Feel the breeze in your face and the turf underfoot. And at your own pace, as it feels good to you, I invite you to bring your awareness and your consciousness back into this room, this church, this morning, right now. And when it feels good to you, just open your eyes. So for a few minutes now, I'd love you just to share your experiences. Which room did you go into and what did you do? Margie.
I looked at those two doors. My first thought was to go to the one with the laboratory where I can do it all, because I know I can do everything. And that's really, very bad thinking that way. But at the same time, I thought, ooh, what if I don't know how to do it and I really screw up, right? So that wasn't an option, because I've screwed up so much in my life that I know I probably can screw up in that laboratory. Then I thought, well, the chance of meeting God is so awesome.
Brilliant.
And to be working with him was, I imagined myself at a bench with him or at a desk. And I was going to tell him a few things. Because I think, I know you always say there's a feminine side of God, but I don't always believe that. I'm sorry, Sean. I don't always believe what you say. But,
you insist on the beard?
Huh?
You insist on the beard?
Yeah, well, that's how I imagined God all these years. That's how Daniel and I were taught, the fearsome God, the all-powerful God. And I thought, he could use a few words from the feminine side.
I love it. Good.
From the feminine side, to kind of straighten him out.
Did you tell him to have a shower first, or what?
Well, I don't know about shower. I'm not going to get that personal with him, but just to be there with him.
Good.
But I thought, what a great honor that would be.
Brilliant.
To be standing with God or sitting with God and actually seeing him. I couldn't pass up that idea. And I think, if there was a lot of more feminine stuff in the world, I don't know what word I could use for that word, there wouldn't be all this war. I've heard it said many, many times, old men declare war and young men die in war. And I've never heard old women declare war as much as I've heard old men. I don't know if that's true or not. So that's
brilliant, Margie. That's brilliant, Lovey. Brilliant. All right, Peter. Awesome. Georgie.
At the bottom of the stairs.
Grab your mic.
Oh, I need a mic, right? At the bottom of the stairs, the two rooms, I felt this tremendous love coming from the God room, and on the other side were the tools that I was told about that could help make the world a more loving, caring, forgiving place. So I wanted to go to God and help him give me more energy. So I went in, and he held me, and he passed. I felt this energy, this love come to me. And then I went out and I said, I've got to go and help make the world a better place. So I went in to see the tools, and I looked around, and I realized I'm the tool that can make the world more loving, more caring, and more forgiving place. So I did that. And then God said, please, come, let me hold you and love you.
Wow. That's brilliant, Georgie. Brilliant, buddy. Brilliant. Thank you. You hug, brother. So, Angelica, we want to hear the baby talk as well, so don't rush him away anywhere. This is God talking to us. I literally mean that. So whatever he has to say, let him say. Wherever he wants to go, let him go. Okay. Yeah. Try that. Anybody else want to contribute? Cecile.
So, can you hear me?
Yes.
I picked what I love, which is what I know. It's all of what we're already experiencing. I didn't have a tete-a-tete with God, but my idea was to turn back the time for the creatures that we share the planet with a little bit, and that everyone that's here would experience their angel so that they could see that there's a way to evolve and transform, because I do believe in evolution, and I don't think we'll have to endure tens of millions of years sitting in a
amphitheater.
Yeah, in a circle. Being bored. I've wondered about this, believe it or not, before, but I think that there'll always be a possibility for us to help the next stage, whatever that is that's going to be evolving.
Brilliant.
That we'll take on that role, and there'll always be an opportunity to love, but probably not in a boring way, in a creative way. Yeah.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thank you, Pat. Thank you. I think Lillian was next.
So I want to share something real
Sure,
quick as
sure.
far as my experience. So I chose the room that God was in.
Okay.
And part of it was just to ask him questions, because the world has a lot of challenges. And I think that the challenges are going to grow significantly, and that things are going to get much worse. And I think that's part of our evolutionary journey as far as humanity. So I asked him why, and just get insight on why are things going to get worse? Why are they so bad right now? And how will we evolve more love from these challenges that we're currently facing and we're going to face in the future?
Brilliant. Thanks, Michael. Thank you. He said Lillian was next there.
Yes, I went into the left door, and I went in there, and then there was an angel that gave me a whole bunch of flowers. So I made a beautiful bouquet of flowers.
Awesome.
And then I crocheted a tablecloth to put underneath. Because you reminded me of crocheting earlier.
You didn't play hurling? Okay.
No, I didn't hurl. I just did that. Yeah, that's it.
That was beautiful. Beautiful, Louis. Thanks a million. Margaret, thank you.
Mine, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, even from the onset, so I just decided I'd be rather than direct.
Okay.
And so I waited. And then when I got to the two doors, maybe it's because we've had so much company,
Okay.
I decided, and because things are, I decided that I didn't want to make and do. I wanted to be.
Okay.
So I went into the left room, and besides that, I thought, well, I think I know what's going to happen in the right one, but I absolutely have no idea in the left one. And it was really sort of zen, really. It was filled with nothing except sort of a color of, not swirling colors, but pulsating colors like those color fields that artists were doing in the 50s, where it's a color that changes subtly. And so I just was there, and just sometimes I could see a little lighter part, and sometimes not. But I knew that it was all the same. It was this room, me, God, whatever. And so I just stayed there. And then when it was time to leave, I just got this sort of little message. it was very quiet and calm and peaceful. And there was this message about this isn't here, it's in you, and you can take it with you.
Brilliant.
But you're not really taking it with you, it's just here.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Beautiful, Margaret. Beautiful. Beautiful. Margaret.
I don't do this kind of thing very well. And I got down the door, 2 doors. So I went to the right. And I thought, I can't do any better. So I'm still in the right side, and I'm thinking, it's kind of nice here. This is a beautiful planet. Maybe if we could go back to the beginning in a pristine earth and give God another chance.
Brilliant.
That's
Brilliant.
my
Okay. Thank you, Margaret. Got an in now, and then Tom.
I spent a fair amount of time in the hall trying to decide which says something about my personality, I'm sure. And the impulse was to go to the right. And then I thought, oh, come on. Let's go see what's on the other side.
Okay.
Oh, so then I went into the left side, and what I found there was that it was basically something about like what Margaret was describing, was an empty space, and things that just came out of my hands and began to kind of rotate in the space. But the focus of it, and then I was there a while, and then I went back to the other side, and it was kind of to state a wish on the other side.
Okay.
That there was this whole push, and maybe it is about the divine feminine, of just the planet being cleansed somehow of all the things. And, renewing the people's attachment to the earth and realizing that they're part of this whole system, that they are animals, that there's in sort of getting involved more in growing things and food and just being part of that whole life cycle that's so much bigger than we as individuals. And so I think when the first room, the planet that I was creating, I guess, really was that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant, lovely. Thanks so much, Karen. So Tom was next, and then Ed. No, Tom Shannon.
So anyway, tagging on to Margaret Park, I went definitely right, and I went and I sort of said, I really appreciate the life I've been given, but there was some underlying discomfort that I was given the fortunate life, if you will, and so many people were suffering. So then, so I thanked, if you will, all I could think of was last week with Deborah's wizard, but this was a real wizard, but didn't reveal to me any gender. So, so as a result, then I said, so why did you let ego become so powerful and so much judgment? And the response I got back was, well, I didn't do that, it evolved, and you have to work hard in order to appreciate things, and if I hadn't done that, then and it had come easy, then it wouldn't be respected.
Good.
So.
Awesome, Tom. Awesome. Thank you, buddy. Ed was next. Ed Keating.
Here's a little prayer I heard I thought you might enjoy.
Sure.
Nothing comes from nothing. Nothing ever did. The Creator creates. The painter paints. Creator of the universe, of nature, of beauty and truth, we thank you. And a second prayer, it's kind of a joke. It's the atheist prayer.
Great.
The atheist prayer is, thank God I'm an atheist, amen.
It's like the guy who says, I don't believe in reincarnation. And I didn't either the last time I was here. Right. I want to give the last word to Bodhi, and I'm serious. Angelica and Sean, you tell us what Bodhi has come to do. What's God's message to planet Earth by giving you guys the responsibility for bringing Bodhi into the world?
Could you say that again?
Yeah. So, what do you think Bodhi's contribution to planet Earth is, and why were you, Angelica, and yourself, entrusted with this prophet, this gift, this intervention of God onto planet Earth? How do you see it?
All right, good question. And I appreciate the whole inquiry style of what we're doing here today. I think that's very powerful. Everything starts with a good question, right? So what I think Bodhi's here to do is, as he's already doing now, is to spread, is to really spread joy, spread love, to bring that forth in people, how those qualities exist in people. They may not know it, but when they see him, it brings those forth. And and he seems to have a gift to do that very well.
Brilliant.
One of our friends, when we do, at a different type of spiritual work that we do, says that he really sees Bodhi as a tantra adept, in the sense that in true tantra, you don't know whether you're giving or receiving. It's just kind of reciprocated perfectly like that. So Bodhi has that gift. And to the question that why were Angelica and I chosen to receive such a gift, I think that I know that we're very pure of heart, very pure of spirit, and we seem to have a gift with children, and to hopefully bring forth the best in them.
That's beautiful, Sean. Thanks so much. Angelica.
Well, I would say it all started with the intention of having Bodhi in our lives. We gave it a lot of thought and consideration to have children, and I feel like we, as a couple and individuals, work through a lot of, suffering and pain, and also joy and love, and learn so much that when we had the intention to bring him into our lives, it was very clear and very precise, and he came as soon as we had an intention for it. And we were ready to receive him. And he seemed to be in my life for quite a while as a spirit. And I really feel that he is here to have a really big mission. I'm not quite sure what, but I feel that it's about remembering. About remembering who we are, and presence, and also there's a quality of him that's very punctual. So the discipline of being on time, but it's like a cosmic time. It's and a trust in that. So, and I feel very blessed to have him, and I always tell him thank you for choosing me as his mother.
That's brilliant, loving. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.